on the first tee, just playing by myself. And Joe Pesci walks up behind me, smoking a cigarette. He's got a leather coat on and a fedora. And he goes, you mind if people watch you tee off? I'm like, no, I don't mind. Don't
Yeah.
And I drill one right down the middle. Just bomb it right down the middle. Takes a cigarette, takes a puff, stamps it out, looks at me, and goes, I see why you don't mind.
All right, Vanity, next time. It's Wells Adams.
It's Chad Mumm.
You're a little bit late.
I know, sorry, buddy. I had a thing this morning.
What's going on?
Yeah, so we're recording this. It's 10:30 in the morning, but at 6 a.m., I was in Long Beach.
Oh, wow.
At Virginia Country Club.
The LBC?
That's right. 1908 Virginia Country Club. Classic California golf club. And what was I doing? We were recording audio for Happy Gilmore 2.
Stop it. Some ADR.
It's a little ADR. So this is the thing I love about movie making. So you've got a giant film. It's got a release date already. Everything's been planned. Shoots, talent, millions of dollars has been spent on this production.
Yeah.
And then last week I get a nice little phone call from one of the producers, and he's like, "I don't like the sound of the golf balls in the movie. Like the strikes are wrong. It's not loud enough. It's not tight enough. Whatever. But like, do you think you could get some sick players to come out and record shots that we could use to sub in for, Happy, Rory, Scotty, Brooks, Bryson, JT, Will, like pretty good flush." And he's like, "They need to be flushers." So, so I'm like, yeah. Well, actually, I said that because this producer doesn't know what that guy doesn't know what like a flusher is.
Yeah,
I was like, they should be flushers. So, so I set it up. I called Jamie Mulligan, who's the I guess he's the CEO and sort of GM and head pro and everything out at Virginia. Jamie Mulligan, all-time great golf name, by the way.
Oh yeah,
he's Patrick Cantley's coach. He's also Nelly Korda's coach. So I mean, unbelievable, like all in. That guy was born to do this job. So I called him up. I'm like, hey, because
that's almost as good as Blades Brown
or like Adam Schenk.
Yeah,
I feel like that's Blades Brown is excellent. That one takes the cake.
Like he couldn't do anything else.
No,
I guess he could be like a swordsman. Other than that, and you did. By the way, does he play blades? He's got to, right?
He has to.
Yeah.
I mean, he's I think he's a Callaway guy now. I mean, he's like 16. So
yeah.
I mean, I am gonna buy the first set of Blades Brown blades.
Yeah.
Like it's BB triple 3. I don't know.
I can see it now.
You can see it now.
Yeah.
You can see the branding rights itself. Anyway, so I called up Jamie and I'm like, hey, we need, I'd played out there a couple months ago with Preston, who's Cantley's agent and manager, and I was super impressed with the place. But what was most impressive is they have an amazing driving range, like practice facility for sort of pros or elite amateurs, and there's a lot of really great players down there. And a lot of the private clubs around LA doesn't have much of like a junior program, as you know, and like Lakeside or Bel Air, it's like you're not practicing if you're a pro at places like that. Maybe Hillcrest has a real range that you could practice at. But anyway, so this place is super impressive. And so the first off, I was like, okay, we need a venue to do this. So I called up like Gankus. I called up like a couple of Dana Dahlquist and was just like, hey, can we do you have players that could do this? And also, because everyone was going to be like at the Masters or the RBC, so I couldn't use a pro. But then I remembered that they are all at like public driving ranges, and it was going to be loud. And I remember this elite like practice facility. So I hit up Jamie. He sets it all up. So we did it this morning. And so there's 3 guys. They're all from Long Beach State. And they show up this morning, 6 a.m., bright and early. We've got like probably $100,000 of like microphones just out there. And these boys are like, all right, what do you need? And we're like, they're hitting shots. They're hitting stingers, all the different sounds, just absolute flushing. And then we start hitting drivers, and we need big swings, So there's 3 of us, three sound recordists basically. And there's this one guy whose job is to get the sound of the ball like whizzing by. Mm-hmm. And so he starts out, like, by the way, he doesn't have an extendable boom. He's just like holding a mic thing in his hand with a big sock on it.
Oh my God.
Like a dead cat type thing. And he's standing like in, if you're like golfers to, like, look, imagine you're taking your swing. He's standing maybe 10 yards dead in front of the ball and like 2 yards to the left. So you pull one a little bit.
Yeah, this guy's
dying.
Effed.
But he's just like a sound guy. And he's like, these guys are basically pros. So we do it all. And every time I'm like, he keeps getting closer and closer and more in the center and more in the center. And I see these poor kids, like they're starting to hit like more high draws,
Yeah.
you know, like getting nervous around his corner. And then finally we were like, all right, we need some like real hammered drives. Like I want to see as much ball speed as you got, like come out of your shoes. So the first kid like loads up, and then this guy like walks right back to where he was standing. And then he's like, oh, hold on a second. I just need to check something. So he takes like 5 steps back. The kid hits. He spots where the ball is like rising. And he's like, okay, I got it. And he walks right back out and puts the mic like right under where he saw the ball cross his field of vision. Like his hand within a yard of like where this ball is going to be traveling.
Yeah.
Like 20 feet in front of a player swinging all out on driver. And I'm like, this seems kind of dangerous. And the first swing, I was like, he's like, don't hook it, don't hook it. The first swing, the kid kind of like pull hooks it.
Yeah.
And it goes like right over the mic.
Probably perfect.
It was perfect. It was amazing. And I'm like, we got to stop. Like, hang on a second. This is crazy. So there's a gym there. So I went in and I got like I got 2 yoga mats, and I just walked out there and stood next to him with the yoga mats in front of me, just like held him, and we kind of like cowered behind it. And we're like, he's like, all right, hit him over. And the first one again, boom, and I'm watching the ball flight, and it's like a pull cut. I'm like, okay, no more pull cuts.
Yeah.
And then they started hitting drives and bombs. It was awesome. So we did that. These 3 golfers get to be the sounds of all the strikes in the movie. You know, I was like, which one do you want to be? And one of the kids, funny enough, his name's Jack. I'm like, oh, what's your last name? Cantlay. It's Jack Cantlay. It's Patrick's brother.
Really?
Yeah. He's amazing. He's got a great swing. He's a really good looking kid too. I'm like, this kid could be a star.
Okay, it's my question about the sound of it all, because in the original Happy Gilmore, when he hits the ball, it's like it has this like, I don't know, it's like going into warp speed sound.
Obviously.
So are you still using that for him, and then everyone else has Patrick Cantlay's brother?
They do all the, they're gonna post produce all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think they were like, they wanted more variety on like iron shots and different drives because there's just other players hitting, and I think I'm sure they did Foley or something for it last time, but this Adams note has been like, we wanted to be more realistic. So, it was awesome. Like they hit all kinds of different like long irons, mid irons, different types of spin, which, the guy out there almost getting killed every time was telling me he could hear the difference between like a cut and a draw. And I was like, that's I guess what an audio professional would say, because that's their job, but it would be hilarious because he would literally, one of the players would flush one and he'd be like, oh yeah, no, that was it. It was amazing. And that guy doesn't know really anything about golf. He's just like, yeah, no, that was the real one, And then we hit some bunker shots, and then we hit out of the rough, and then they were putting and stuff like that. So yeah, it was pretty fun. It was fun to see those kids. And I didn't expect to be doing that this morning, but I'm rolling in. We're going to do this podcast. We got a great podcast today. This is one I've been looking forward to for a long time.
Yeah. Charlie Day is going to be on the show from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Lego Movie. I mean, it's a million different things, right?
Yeah. He's also Luigi in the Mario Brothers movie.
There you go.
Yeah. Was he in the Lego movie? I guess he was.
I think so.
We should ask him.
Well, if he wasn't, I got to cut that. But I'm pretty sure he was in
Horrible Bosses.
I love that movie.
God, that movie's so good.
And also his character with Jennifer Aniston is so funny.
So funny. And Bateman is in that movie. We'll get Bateman on the show.
Yeah.
That's a given.
Before we take a break and have Charlie on the show, I know this is going to now be coming out a little bit later, but the one thing I wanted to talk to you about was post-Masters, this thing that Bryson says where he's like, seems kind of salty that McIlroy didn't talk to him during the final round of a major that he was trying to win for the Grand Slam. And to me, Bryson is doing such good work for himself. Like, he has become the people's champ from being like the heel. But sometimes I feel like he can't get out of his own way, because I hear that quote and I'm like, of course he didn't talk to you, Like, Tiger never talked to anybody. Like, notoriously, Tiger wouldn't talk to you. And anyways, I just wanted to get your take on that.
I think I don't necessarily have a take other than it's obvious both guys were trying to play some mind games. And I think it's really interesting context for Beth Page, because both of those guys are going to be on the Ryder Cup teams. So we'll have a European and American. And, Bryson also was trying to play mind games. He knows he's the Rory vanquisher from last summer at Pinehurst. And I think that it was pretty shocking. I mean, I was on the grounds at Pinehurst. I was there for that entire final round. And there's it's the US Open. So it's very America, like rah, more so than the Masters. The Masters definitely felt like it was like a more Rory crowd.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it's like it just the appreciation of the Masters in general and like
People wanted to
context
see
of
history
it.
too.
And it was history. And so it just felt like a more Rory crowd. But the US Open was like a decidedly Bryson crowd. It was like, there's a lot of the big letter hats, you know, the Pinehurst without the vowels, that kind of stuff. And so I think Rory, I think Bryson maybe felt that energy in the crowd and he could see, you know, he thought it could give him a slight edge. You know, so he comes out, he's the last person to the first tee.
Yeah.
You know, normally Rory's like very last minute to the tee, but you know, he waited till Rory was already in the tee box. He shows up coming down that alleyway, like high-fiving everybody, just like this like NFL or WWE style entrance. And just, you know, he wanted Rory to feel him, his arrival.
And he did.
And he did. And I think a lot of that, like even on 16 the day before when he makes birdie and he just pauses and he looks at the crowd and he gives them like a let's go.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's all him like laying that groundwork. And by the way, like that's all fair game to me. Like, and so the only way that you can respond to that is just ignore it.
Yeah.
And it's like the only mind games that Rory could have ever played back is to do exactly what he did. It's just pretend he doesn't exist. Don't even acknowledge him. Shake his hand at the beginning, you know, give him the pat on the back, say play well, and then literally never look at him again.
Yeah.
And for someone whose whole thing is like, I have this game plan where I'm going to try and get a lot of attention and that will like give me a slight advantage when the person you're trying to distract is just literally completely ignoring you. Like that's a mind game back in a totally different way. And I love it. I love it. I love that we have a real rivalry.
Yeah.
I love that we have golfers that want to beat each other, like not just the course.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that they don't have like a bunch, they're not like buddy. I think that the one thing I think we lost in the PGA Tour with the live stuff was just like really good villains.
Yeah.
And there's something about
they all went to live.
Well, it's partly like it makes sense. Like they go by their own drum. They're not really worried what people think of them. Like Ian Poulter, perfect example. One of my favorite people we ever filmed with at Full Swing, by the way. Like Ian Poulter is the best, like the best. Amazing hang, really, really funny, like knows how to play to the camera. You know, he famously in season 1, like throws his clubs in the locker room at Austin Country Club because he gets disqualified. He loses in the match play. And he's literally just like says the F word and throws his clubs as hard as he can. And our camera's there. And after he like looks back at the camera, he's like, how's that? Like he knows, you know, he knows. And it's awesome. It's in the freaking trailer for season 1 of the show. It's like, he gets it. I mean, Brooks kind of same thing, like needs that, like he's got, I wouldn't call Brooks necessarily a villain, but he has that I don't care what people think vibes. You know, you got Patrick Reed, even Rahm in some ways has been like, you know, Rahm is by all intents from my knowledge of him is like, he's a really amazing like dad and friend in person and has a great backstory, but he, you know, he's private, he's intense. He doesn't really care what people think of him. Phil Mickelson, also another example of that. So anyway, it's awesome that we have this rivalry now, and we have like the stage set for what I think is going to be an electric like next 24 majors, because you'll have all these guys at their height, and hopefully we get Scotty back in the mix, who has just a totally different personality. And you know, you see one like Rahm is kind of maybe back in the mix, and you get one of these, Scheffler, you get one of these other tour guys who kind of goes on a run. It's like, I mean, we have it, like if Morikawa comes back, Morikawa has a lot of swagger, and when he's going for it, man, he can really bring shots.
Yeah.
We're a better show, but just barge in.
Yes.
Let me teach you guys a little bit about it.
Charlie Day, everybody.
We got a thing going.
All right.
Sorry I'm late.
You're not late. We were just getting started.
All right. Whole intro.
Yeah, your monitor.
Yeah. We'll take a quick break. When we come back,
Charlie Day.
Charlie Day.
All right. How you guys doing? Save it.
Can you hear us?
I do.
All right. All right, welcome back to the Vanity Index podcast.
Right.
It's Wells and Chad Mumm, now joined by the very talented, very handsome Charlie Day.
Now, why is it called the Vanity Index podcast? Because at Lakeside we all have Vanity Indexes.
I think the show's about golf in Hollywood, and there's no place where you're ever going to have a Vanity Index more than Hollywood, but also it abbreviates to VIP, which is what this is all about. You know,
oh, nice.
We got one right here in the flesh.
I would love nothing more than to have a higher index.
This is why you're a real golfer.
Yeah.
This is why we were so excited to have you on the show.
But hold on. I mean, Charlie is a very, very good golfer. First question, what is your index right now?
It's up there. No. It's skyrocketing. I'm up to like a 5.8, I think so. And I think I'm worse than that.
Sandbagger.
Yeah.
Well, no, I was good for a minute.
You were good during the strike.
During the strike, you got down to like Skratch, didn't you?
During the strike, I got very good.
Yeah.
But I was also hitting those picket lines hard. I wasn't just golfing. I did a lot of golfing. And that's how you get good. But I also hurt myself during the strike. I hurt my rotator cuff. And since then, it's been garbage.
Oh.
You are, I would say, probably the best celebrity golfer that I've ever played with. And I played with a bit of them.
Get out of here.
You are. I mean, consistency wise, you also gave me, well, we'll talk about this in a little bit. You gave me the single greatest like bunker tip I've ever gotten, which is always funny because I've become a pretty good bunker player. And oftentimes people will be like, wow, how did you hit that shot? And I'm like, Charlie Day gave me a bunker lesson.
What
like,
was it?
The first day, it was like one of the first. Well, okay, so here, let me just set this up. And there's sort of two Charlie Day stories. So
all right.
The first time I ever met you at Lakeside was I was in the process. And we were in some giant like 8-some or something like that. And I was, nervous because I was just out there at the club as a guest and was trying to figure it all out.
It's nerve-wracking joining a club feeling like you're on the I remember the one I did. I like hosel rocketed like 5 shots. I was like, man, sorry.
I was playing with Bruce Lagnice, who's like the final boss.
So was
and
I.
the first tee of like the last group I had to go out with all the board members, I hit 3 balls into the parking lot. Yeah. And he was like, maybe golf isn't for you, bud.
It's nervy. All right, so you're out. We're with a big group. I don't remember.
Also, by the way, Wells made a hole-in-one during one of his membership rounds. So that's like,
also, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, that's also,
like you don't want to be too bad or too good.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're
That's
in this
amazing.
big group and Charlie is a single kind of catching up to us and it was on the 8th green. So you came and joined us.
Oh, nice.
And so you hit up to the green, nice looking shot and you kind of come and say hello. And I'm kind of frazzled anyway. And I'm like, I know you from somewhere. And I asked you, I was like, are you in the industry? Like, you're like, yeah, a little bit,
Yeah.
I was like, I swear I know you from somewhere. Like,
you have a television kid?
Yeah, it's not even that. I was
I'm gonna
like,
make you a star.
You've been to a movie theater?
I was like, I thought you were like an exec at like Amazon or something.
I don't get that a lot. I don't give off exec vibes.
I know. Yeah, things are different now in Hollywood, Charlie.
Sure, this is true.
Yeah, but I was like, yeah, I swear I pitched him or something, and then like, we're like walking down the 9th hole, and I was just like, oh shit, like I know where I know you from.
That's funny.
Anyway, but that was embarrassing, and then we got to be friends. We played together in a tournament, which was a blast. I think we played the Hope together one year.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then we were like playing a practice round for that. And I was like kind of struggling out of the bunker. And you're like unprompted, which by the way, normally we think can be a bit of a faux pas, but not from you. You walk over and you go, hey man, like just put all that weight on that front foot. Like that's the best way
lean
to get
left,
out of the bunker.
lean
Lean
towards
left.
the flag.
Yeah, get there, get all that weight on that left side. And I'm like, shit. Okay. And I literally open up, pop it out perfect.
Yeah.
Nice and high, a little bit of spin, like right by the flag. It's like, thanks, Charlie.
The studio executive knows what he's talking
This
about.
studio executive's got it out. Oh, you were just hanging back on that right side, buddy.
It's great. Every time I think about it, I walk into the bunker, I think of you every single time I have a sand shot. Cause I'm like, don't get back. You got to lean into it. Get up the hill.
I wish it worked for me every time.
Well, it works a lot.
It comes and goes. You know what though? I am crazy about the game. I like went through a phase of like reading everything. Like every golf book, every YouTube video, every piece of content. I was insatiable for a while, and I'd read Stan Utley's short game book because I was not a very good short game player. That I had to work on the most. And Stan Utley, I can't even remember what it's called, but it was like The Art of the Short Game or just the short game. And he had a whole different like bunker technique. Not to bore your audience to death about like keeping the club, not like slashing across it to the left, but more just like kind of taking dead aim and just like really lowering your hands and leaning left. And
that's how all these guys are playing bunker
that's how
shots
they do
now.
it now. Yeah.
And it's changed. It was the old way was open your stance way wide, open the club way wide and kind of assume that the ball's going to come in between, the 90 degree angles.
Yeah.
And I actually asked Colin Morikawa about this. And I was like, I noticed cause he's almost closed stance. And he's like, oh yeah, that's how we do it now. He's like, you like square to closed, all the weight forward, and then your hands as low as possible.
As low as you can.
So when you open the club face, but your hands are low and the toe is up, it actually it changes the angle back to straight.
Yeah.
And they're just like, it's way more consistent that way. And I'm like, yeah, it sure is.
But what I find difficult, because another thing in that Stan Utley short game book was, it was all about like really using like the bounce on your club, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I've had like a ton of bounce on my club, which is great at Lakeside, right? Like there's high rough, it's soft, you can hit a lot of little floppy things. But if it's a thin trap, which they are all right now,
Mm-hmm.
you just send a rocket out of that. You can't get under the ball.
Yeah.
So that's a tough thing about the bunker game. Like you go to a different course and you're like, this tool is not the right tool for this course, you know?
Do you remember that round that he's talking about? Like, do you remember the day that
Coming up on them?
Yeah.
Vaguely sounds familiar. I was probably walking beside him being like, oh, is that Bradley Cooper?
Yeah.
I can't totally tell. I think it is.
Yeah.
I know you from somewhere.
Yeah. No, I don't totally remember that. I do remember the bunker lesson. I don't think I would have just dropped the knowledge on you. I probably would have said, hey, do you want a thought? Do you want to?
We were having a whole conversation about our games, and so it was in total context.
We were in tinkering mode.
Yeah. We were practice round. It wasn't
Yeah.
mid round. This was like a full on, and we were talking about the drive on, because I remember the bunker. It was the bunker on our our fourth hole,
The par 5.
which, because the next hole we were already talking about how hard that tee shot is. And how I had all the scar tissue from like my membership rounds, where I think I hit it into the river on that hole, like snap hooked it left every time I played it. And I don't think I ever made better than a double, like until I became a member. And like, anyway. So yeah, I even remember I was in the left middle sort of bunker on 4. So anyway, yeah, that was great. I love that you love the game. And I feel like it's
Crazy about it.
You're not like, it doesn't get out there that often. Cause I feel like, whenever, we've talked about like having you on the show, people are always like surprised to hear that you golf.
I don't do a bunch of the things that people do. Like all this, you can become a celebrity golfer if you like.
Totally.
You can make a life out of going to those tournaments. But like then I'm like stuck with some guy who works at CBR Bank Taiwan, and I'm making small talk about it with a little bit about show business. Like, what's Jennifer Aniston like? And I'm like, what's the point? Like, I'd rather just hang out and play with my buddies.
Totally.
All my greatest golf experiences have either been just like kicking it with you guys in an afternoon, and we have a good story, or a trip with my closest friends.
Yeah.
You guys all went to Bandon together, right? Didn't you do a big trip with like Santino up?
I was supposed to be on that trip, but I had to bail out last minute. Yeah.
You guys went to Scotland though, right?
Santino
That's
and I
right.
went to Scotland.
Yeah.
And two of my like Rhode Island buddies that I grew up with, and one of them had never left the country before.
Oh my God.
And it was great. I think my buddy Carl, the accents are so thick, and we're a little hungover, and he goes to like the window at the range, and he goes, the guy says something to him, and he goes, I was trying to understand what he said. He said, "Oh, we're with the Rosenblatt group." And the guy looks at him with a blank face. He says, really slowly, I said, good morning. And Carl goes, oh, good morning. And then he says something else, and Carl doesn't understand it. And he's asking him how many balls he wants to hit. And Carl's like, I'm sorry, I don't understand you. And the guy goes, 30, 60, or 90. And Carl's like, oh, 30 balls. And Carl gets the little token, goes to the machine. It's like with the hook and the thing, puts the token in, and he's put the basket under the wrong thing. So all the balls come out in the other hole. And the guy just shakes his head and he goes, some fools can't be helped. And like, to me, that experience with a guy that I grew up with, who's like made an incredible hole-in-one on one of these trips, like, that beats just being in a motel and hobnobbing with some people for the celebrity thing. So I do it every now and then, but it's pretty rare for me to do it.
So you did participate in a celebrity event, the Netflix is a Joke golf tournament, which I want to talk a little bit about.
I did do that, yeah.
Because because it was a home game for one. It's at Riviera for two, which is sick. Like Riviera's great.
If it's in town and it's a charity and it's like one day.
I'm not calling you out. I'm setting you up.
No,
actually,
because I'm not saying I haven't done them. I did one in Switzerland that was amazing.
Switzerland, European tour.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, this is a golf sicko here. Like, forget like all the waste management, whatever. It's like, I'm gonna go play on the European tour. And you
Well-
played with a great golfer, right? You told me that story.
Guido Migliozzi.
Yeah. Tell me the story about him. Like, I feel like you have a good story from
He
Switzerland.
shot, I think it was 9 birdies and an eagle.
Oh my God.
Did he win?
Well, so that was just the practice round.
Oh.
So like it was the practice round and he lit it up. And then he finished like middle of the pack, which is crazy because you're like, you see a guy play like that and you're like, well, you're going to win everything.
Yeah.
It's impossible for you not to win. If he missed the green, he chipped in. And if he was, not close to the pin, he drained a long putt or he just put it right on the pin. I don't think he missed a fairway. It was insane.
I feel like anytime, even at the driving range, if I'm walking down a PGA Tour driving range, I'm like, every guy you stop behind, you're like, that's the best player in the world. Just the way they hit it. It's insane. And then you're like, how do you not win every time when you're hitting the ball like that? And you can just call that up at any moment. But
yeah,
when you played in the Switzerland thing or any celebrity thing where there's cameras and stuff, do you get nerves?
Well, there weren't cameras, so no, I wasn't too nervous. I was a little nervous on the first tee, right? You're like, please don't hook it right into the crowd. But I would like if I did the Pebble thing, I'd be nervous. I'd be super nervous. Yeah.
Have you been invited to the Pebble thing?
No.
Oh my God.
So that's part of the problem. Probably because I'm so kind of quiet about my thing. But the Switzerland thing, I had a buddy who was always asking me to do those tournaments. And I said, no, I don't want to do it. And then he said, I got one in Switzerland. I said, can I bring my wife and kid? He's like, yeah. And so
worth it.
Perfect.
Make a trip out of it.
And again, what do I remember from it? Maybe that pro playing that well and like walking around the cities with my son, like, and my wife. So that's why I'm like hesitant to do a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the Netflix is a joke thing. Cause I'm setting you up here because this was last summer. It was
last summer.
The Netflix is a joke festival. It's like a comedy festival. So Netflix decided to organize a celebrity golf tournament, basically like a comedy golf tournament. So they put all these groups together. I got invited. Santino was there. You were there. Blake was there.
Santino dragged me into it.
Yes. I think Santino drags you into it. So we show up at this thing and I've played my share of boondoggly events and I feel a little bit like you at this point. I've played a bunch of pro-ams and it's like, I would rather just play golf that day. Like I would rather go play golf at like our club or it's a lot of pressure and you're playing really hard golf courses and I'm like just trying to play fast. I'm not trying to get in the way of the pro. And it's like, I don't know. But anyway, so that was the most wild golf tournament, like celebrity tournament I've ever been to because the format was completely insane. So there were teams, like they were all foursomes and they were like loose. Like you didn't have to have a handicap to really play. So I don't even know how they picked the teams, but the format was at Riviera from the blue tees, which is like, they were not playing whites, no combos.
Were we playing the blues?
We were playing the blues. Like it was, they weren't playing all the way back, but we were one up from the back. And
Riviera is a long course for people who don't know. Like when you look where the pros play from,
it's insane.
Even if you're like, you hit the ball pretty far, you can get off the tee.
Yeah.
I can't imagine playing those holes from where those guys.
Well, and it's Riviera, so it's like it's hard from everywhere, and the course was crispy. It was like early summer, it was like perfect condition. It could host a US Open.
Yeah.
So the format is bonkers. So basically it's teams of 4 and it was a shamble. So a shamble, obviously everybody hits a drive like a scramble.
Yeah.
And then you pick the best drive and then everybody plays in from there on their own ball, but it was not a net event. So the what you took as your score from each hole was literally you had to take 2 of the 4 shamble scores, like playing it all the way down to the hole. And you're like, it's at Riviera. So even if you have one of your 4 people and of which like 2 of them or 3 of them maybe aren't even really golfers, like people are barely getting off the tee, we're taking balls like that are like 20 yards off the fairway, just to get something out there. And then you're like, okay, we got 200 yards into a par 4 at Riviera with the best drive in the group. And by the way, we have to take 2 scores, not net with no strokes. Like you just have to play it all the way down. And so anyway, so I played out of my mind that day. And
you had a good day, right?
We came in and we shot even par. Like I think I made 4 or 5 birdies on my own ball or, from the shamble in. We were mostly always using my drives. You also played well.
I feel like
in
I
your
had a
group.
good day that day. I remember that. Yeah.
So I remember because were you with Santino in his group? Or you were in one of the other groups? Either way.
Was McElhenney there?
McElhenney was there.
I think I played with Rob.
So like we get back in the clubhouse and I'm like, God, even par's got to be close to it. And I asked Santino what his group shot. And he's like, dude, we played lights out, shot even par. I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. So then they announced the winner and it's Rob Lowe and Catherine Newton and Rob Lowe's son. And then a football player that I've never, that I'd forgotten about for years, an old wide receiver. And they're like 14 under par. And I'm like, wait, what?
How is that possible?
How is that possible? So then we began this investigation.
Yes.
You know,
Audit.
Was there an audit? You know, so they got to take home all the Toomey bags and they got some nice carry bags and some, you know, like ship, you know, whatever, golf bag, travel cases, all that stuff, you know, really nice pricing. And there's no way that they shot 14 under on a non-net event, on a gross event. And the truth finally came out. Charlie did some investigation. I finally, you know, they confronted Rob about this, and yes, indeed, they did think it was a net event. So they were taking taking their strokes.
Totally.
So they did play well, I imagine, but not well enough.
I got a free bottle of wine from Drew Bledsoe at that.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Is he a wine guy? Has he got his own wine?
He has his own wine company, and
Wow.
he gave me some Bledsoe wine, and I gotta say, not bad.
What is it? Does it have a cool name?
Going deep, going long. I don't remember what it was. It was Brady took my job.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Never look back.
Yeah, never look back.
Ugh.
Speaking of sports, I know that you grew up like a big baseball player.
Yeah.
Tell us that. Like, how did that come about? Did you play in college?
No. I wanted to play in college, and then this was funny. So it was, I went to a school called Merrimack College, D2 team. And the first, like, you know, open scrimmage, they're sort of picking the team. I was always a scrappy player, pretty good player, and this guy's throwing gas. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna lay down a bunt, and I'm gonna show my hustle. You know, I bunt, I get on base. I'm like, not bad. So they're gonna be impressed. The next guy coming up, who's the current starting second baseman, I was going out for second base. He's about 6'3". You know, I'm like, that's a big second baseman. And he gets a little jammed up on an inside pitch, but it makes contact like mid-bat, goes over the center field fence. And I was like, okay, there's a difference. There's now a new league of just man, you know, like that I am not. And like, no amount of hustle or moxie is going to get me on this team. And I, you know, the next day on the gym, you know, my name was on the list of people that got cut. And I was like, you know, I'm going to go join the theater club. Thank God. And like, which all just came like so much easier to me. But prior to that, I played a ton of baseball, American Legion, all that stuff. And that was just everybody in my town. We were all about diehard baseball. And, you know, I was okay for the town, but, you know, in the grand scheme of like people who are good at baseball, nowhere close. And I'd like to think it's because I'm so small, but like, I'm like taller than Altuve. And so I'm like, you son of a bitch, you've disproved my theory. It's just, it's all talent, which I did not have enough of, but I loved it. I mean, I was crazy about it.
Do you think that, like playing so much baseball has helped your swing or
definitely
hurt your swing?
Definitely. Because I used to take a tee down to the park in my neighborhood, and I would put the ball on the tee, and I would, you know, just rip it into a fence, you know, just working on my swing. And then I would try to see if I could hit it out of the park off the tee, which is hard to do, right? Like a big part of like hitting a home run is the speed of the pitch coming in at you. But I got to the point where I could hit it out of right field, which was the shortest fence, but still, like, to take a non-moving object and crank it that far, you're really learning how to use all of your body and you know, delay the bat speed so that it's coming in, all the power is coming into the last second. That translates to a golf swing so well. So I think people are always surprised because I'm 5'6" and a pocket change. And I think people are surprised when I can hit it far off the tee because they're like, you know, big guys just not using their body the right way. But I think for me, that all the timing is coming in there at the end of the ball and I can get it out there.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Rory is 5'9" and it's a further than anybody.
Yeah. That's a flexibility issue where I'm like, oh, how does he move his body? Like,
yeah,
crazy. But I feel like, you know, this is sad. I feel like I'm starting to lose some distance.
Yeah.
No.
I think it's starting to happen. I feel like I'm like playing courses where like I used to be down there and now
You just had an injury. That doesn't count. You're you're coming back from an
rotator
injury.
cuff.
Maybe.
I feel like that's not a thing.
That's true. I'll get it back.
You'll get it back. No, you're such an impressive player. It's really, I don't want to fluff you up too much, but you are, one, really fun to play with because you just like get golf. And I think that's the other thing. That's why this show's the Vanity Index podcast. You know, it's like people lie about their handicap. Usually it's the other direction, but in this town, it's about ego and everybody wants to be a good golfer. But like you're sneaky, an extremely good golfer. You had your low round last year, right? What was your lowest round? Didn't you shoot like in the 60s at Lakeside?
67.
67.
It
Wow.
was crazy. I just played around and then shot like 77 or something. And on the last hole, I was like, I got a feel with my full swing that I was like, oh, I wish I fucking wrote down what it was because I don't remember what it was. You know what I mean? And I had this like feel where I was like, oh, right, you just do that and you can't miss. Right. And so I saw Matt Corboy and Ames on the first tee. And I said, you guys mind if I just play a couple with you? And birdie, a kick-in eagle on 2,
Ooh.
like 3 inches from the cup. And both just perfect shots, perfect drive, perfect iron, made a medium long putt on 1, 2. So now I'm 3 under through 2, right? Hit the green on 3, just missed the birdie putt by a smidge. 4, I get on it in 2. I'm
Really?
never on in 2. I'm like, just I'm pin high, but I'm just sort of like on the edge of the trap thing there. And I kind of duff a shot and then I drain like a 20-foot birdie putt. So now I'm like 4 under
Through 4.
And I'm like, okay, this is, and everyone's talking. They're like, you got to keep going. We play through a group, right? I have a kind of nervy tee shot on 5 where I just kind of skinny it right into the trap off the tee. I'm like, all right, well, here comes reality, right? I just chip out because you can't get on the green from that trap. I hit a 7-8 iron to the middle of the green. I drained a 10-foot par putt. I'm like, okay, here we go. I get to the next hole, kind of standard par. I get to the next hole, I block my tee shot way right. I hit in the trap on 2. I get up, I 2-putt bogey. So I'm like, damn, here it comes. And the next, I'm not thinking that way, but I also am a little bit. The next hole, missed the green, up and down par. So I'm still 3 under. I come to 9. I hit 9, which you almost never hit the green on 9.
Yeah, 9's one of the hardest par 3s in.
It's 230-yard par 3.
Yeah, whipping wind across.
Whipping wind, but I'm feeling good. I hit the green on 9, and I don't really know what the putt is. I ask Ames what he thinks. I said, I think this breaks a foot. He goes, I think it's dead straight. Or maybe like left edge or something. I'm like, oh, I'll try it. Drain like an 11-foot birdie putt. 4 under front.
Whoa.
Double bogey 10. I double bogey 10. But then I just kind of keep the wheels on the wagon the rest of the round. I find one more birdie out there. I get to 17. I snap hook my drive.
Oh, man.
I'm in the trap of 10.
Oh, that's insane.
I
Been there.
duff it, like not duff it, but I just kind of like chunk it out of there. I put an 8 iron an inch from the cup for a par. So like just kind of a little bit maybe luck and a little bit it all times out. And the hot putter, I think I like 1-putted almost every green except for 2 on the front.
Were you hanging on for dear life there at the end?
I'd broken par before, so I wasn't totally freaked out. And I'd shot even par like a week before. I was just really in a good place with my swing. And I play a lot with Brockenmeyer, who's like always shooting in the 60s. And I'd come close. I think when I shot par that day, I was starting to get nervous. I was going to blow it. And he was like, just whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. Sort of like watching Rory, right? Like he's so good that if he, blows up on a hole, which he did, if he just trusts that the next hole he's going to be better than most people, he'll get the thing. So maybe that's what I stopped doing. I stopped trusting that I could actually shoot like that. Also, honestly, there was a physical thing. I really couldn't. I used to get the club so far behind me, and then it kind of bounces across the line at the top, and it's not a fundamentally sound swing. I got to the point where I couldn't get the club as far back because just like my rotator cuff just wouldn't go there. I started getting really steep with my driver, and started getting a little like shanky with the driver, which cost me a lot of money playing with this guy. Recently I've been working a lot in the gym and shoulders feeling a lot better. So some of it is physical, some of it is mental, some of it's just luck. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a day we had out there. That was the hammer carryover game.
Well, I learned Chad's version of betting, and other people. Chad likes, you like the action.
Oh,
love
yeah.
the action.
You love the action. You can see the wildness in his eyes.
We
where
were
he's
we were
just like,
we were playing the other day, and I was like, I had no idea you were this competitive. He got
is.
our caddy gave him like a bad line. He had a perfect tee shot like over these trees, and the
Yeah.
caddy's like, it's perfect, and then it ended up being like in the crap. And he was so salty at this like 17-year-old kid for like the rest of the round, and I'm like, dude, you're already up $100. Like
I go out with these
so
guys.
competitive.
I go out with these guys, and I just come off his injury. I could finally kind of swing a club again, right? I couldn't throw a baseball or whatever, but I could swing a club. And but it's so steep. Like I'm like having a hard time getting off the tee. Short game, everything's fine, but off the tee is really challenging for me. And these guys start ramping it up to like what, $100 a hole. Every hole is like going more and more and more. It's not so much about the money, I've been fortunate, but like, you're also just like, I don't really want to lose a ton of money. But I made the one mistake of, well, first of all, I think I went double or nothing when I was already just fucked by the end of it. On the 18th hole, I was in the shit house, like, and it was like Wolf, right? What was
Yeah,
it, Wolf?
it was
Hammer.
hammer.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's basically like the rule is if you're down, you can up the bet to whatever you want on the last hole.
Yeah.
So I think you were down like $475.
Yeah, I was down a lot.
What would normally be the move.
Well, also, I was still playing to like a Skratch.
You were,
even though
that's
I
right.
just had taken 3 months off.
That's right. So there was some handicapping issues.
But playing okay. We're hanging on. Like
Yeah, you're
if
hanging
I
on.
just if my teammate just pars that hole, I think we like break even, right? So you got to pick your guy, and I picked Mahler. He went to college. He drives a 365 off the tee.
yeah, he's amazing.
He's incredible. In hindsight, now that I know, I'm always picking you because you're the one driving up the bets, and like, great, you want to drive it up? Let's ride or die. We'll go down together. But I hosel it again off the tee, which is hard to hosel a driver. But I was just getting so steep. I'm like a mile right. And by the way, I take a 5-iron like over the world, left of the green, chip up, and I think I just missed the par putt.
Yeah.
What did you do to the bet? Did you double it?
No. So normally what people do
I
in
lost
that
like
scenario.
$1,000 to this guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
So normally what people do in that scenario is like you go for half of what you're down because
Yeah.
then you assume you can hammer if you're in a good position and basically make your money back.
Yeah, it's like Jeopardy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Charlie was like full amount. So like this hole's $475 on the tee box.
Yeah.
And then he picks his partner. I think we were playing Wolf actually because it was you would have
we were
picked your
playing Wolf,
partner.
yeah.
And so he picks his partner and yes, this kid Andrew Marler he has the best natural golf swings. He creates so
He's
much
a
power.
very good golfer.
He hits it so far. So he picks Marler. It's a hole where you are at a huge advantage if you can hit a huge tee shot. So this definitely makes sense. So he picks him. Marler's like down to gamble, whatever. So he's like, let's go. But then, immediately they're kind of both out of play. So we just immediately hammer them. And so they have to accept at this point because they're like ride or die. And so then they like both make bogey. We made par. And so, it's whatever, 475, hammer.
900 something bucks,
Yeah,
whatever. Like,
exactly.
which is the most I ever lost on the course. It was fine. But I think we all had a healthy buzz going.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we were getting a little
Blizzes.
fiery. But that's fun too sometimes. If you do that all the time, it's not so great. But
Yeah,
like,
no, it was memorable. It was fun. And like the fact that you're in the game, and you're playing with like, I think everybody in that game was like around Skratch. And then it's like, I can't think of a lot of other, celebrities
that was, a
that
lot of good players.
could play in that group. It's cool. That's what we
So
love
how much
about
did you
Charlie.
take home that day?
A lot. Like a couple $1,000.
You
Really?
made a lot.
Yeah.
And also, like, I've never been in a game where it's that much money.
It's not fun. No,
Yeah. So,
it's
like, what are you doing? Do you have that cash, or is it like, can I Venmo you this? What when it gets that high?
You Venmoed me.
Okay.
Did I Venmo you?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah.
Because going up to the starter and being like, I need $1,000, they're going to be like, we don't have this in the drawer.
Well, they do
do.
it based on eyes. They know who they're giving it to.
Did you know that we have a limit there? It's $1,200.
I heard the limit is fuzzy.
Yeah.
Depending on.
Yeah, depending on the guy. Well, yeah, it's fun to do that sometimes. But I will say, you guys are being very complimentary about my game. But like you guys have great, like fundamentally sound, awesome looking golf swings. You got good short games. Like I would kill for that. I've like cobbled together a thing that like it's what you would think of me, where you're like, hey, he's funny, a little weird, and so's his golf swing. I feel like I've made the best of bad habits. I worked forever just like filming my swing, just taking a thing and trying to get it to be textbook and fundamentally sound, and I actually can't do it. Like sometimes I can make it look good and it doesn't work for me, but like the way you guys swing the club, I would kill it to be a little bit more consistent. Because yeah, sure, I've shot 67. I've shot in the 60s like 4 or 5 times. But I shot 89 the other day. And that was a little bit of just frustration and anger and just like starting to aim for traps. But but still probably even if I stayed focused the whole round, it would have been like 84 or 85,
It happens. Nick Dunlap shot 90 at Augusta.
I know. And then 71 the next day, which is incredible.
What's the strongest part of your game, do you say?
Ooh. For years I thought it was my tee game. But I think as I've gotten older, I've really kind of gotten better about course man. And it was just like when we were in Scotland, I shot in the 70s like almost every time, pretty much just being like, no, the driver's in the bag. I'm going for the center of the screen, and Santino, who I think is actually better golfer than me in terms of just like skill, was firing him to the deep rough. I was like, man, just put that driver away, or getting frustrated. I think I've learned to kind of manage myself and the course well enough to be a better golfer than I should be.
Before you came on the podcast, we were having a conversation about mind games on the course, kind of thinking about Rory and Bryson and their rivalry. Is there anybody that you play golf with that you get in, you can get in their head? And I know that's not your personality. You're not like trying to do that, but just because you mentioned Santino, and that would be the first choice because I know you play a lot with him.
I know. But Santino's on his own. You can't get in his head. He's his own worst enemy out there. No, but there's people that can get in my head and they know who they are. My 2 like best friends that I grew up with and I play golf with all the time know that when I go to Rhode Island and play with them, and like years ago at Sunny, I had a green jacket made up because we used to play at this course in Rhode Island called Green Valley. It's just a public course. It was a great track. And we would like, in our 20s, we'd sneak on with like 1 bag of clubs and like play 3 holes and, smoke a joint or something. But once we all started really getting into golf, we started playing there a lot. And I said, let's do once a year. We'll play winner takes all for the green jacket. And suddenly, like the nerves in that round, because it's just a year of shit talking because you have the jacket. And the first couple of years, I think I won. Then we started doing strokes and I never won again. But those guys will drag me down to their level. And I love playing with them. They're my favorite guys on the planet to play with. But like, I think there's something about, because we were kids, like I want to play so well with them. And like, that's the worst thing you can do. You just got to like do your thing. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a good head game player. If someone wants to get in my head, they can.
Yeah. That's why we don't do this for a living.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah,
definitely.
for sure.
So I want to ask you just about like golf stories and things, your story from going to Scotland is amazing, but just like other good golf stories of interesting people that you've met on the golf course. And, it's obviously, you walked up on our group and I was like, I think I know this guy. And then it was like, oh my God, it's a famous person, but I know you get to play all over the world. Like give me anything, you got anything, just fun stories about just golf being like a connector or interesting ways or just funny characters that you met out there? Cause you're also, you are a professional at playing really great, funny, interesting characters.
Oh, that's fun. I mean, yeah, you do meet some characters out there. Like when I first started getting into golf out here, I just, I bought some clubs at Roger Dunn. I was like, I guess these are good. And I started going to Griffith Park and just walking, at sunset and just playing. And I remember playing with one guy who was like a jazz musician who was like, I always have my gun. And he like showed me his like gun in his bag. I was like, what are you going to do? Like for a coyote? Like, what are you worried about out here? I mean, one of my favorites is Lakeside story. Right when I first joined, it's like, sunset. I'm going to like walk 9 holes if I can. And I'm on the first tee, just playing by myself. And Joe Pesci walks up behind me, smoking a cigarette. He's got a leather coat on and a fedora. And he goes, you mind if people watch you tee off? I'm like, no, I don't mind. Don't fuck this up.
Yeah.
And I drill one right down the middle. Just bomb it right down the middle. Takes a cigarette, takes a puff, stamps it out, looks at me, he goes, I see why you don't mind.
There's a million of those Pesci stories that like.
But I don't really talk to. I'm terrified of the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't talk to him. You guys talk to him out there?
I mean, a little bit. He really
He scares me.
He really likes my third son, Rhodes. Like he's always like, that's a big kid. I can't do the accent as well, but he's like, that's a big kid.
Yeah.
Big fucking kid you got there, Chad.
That's right.
I played with him once. You know, sometimes he like just kind of like plays 3 holes with you, then he like goes on.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And so he was somewhat like we were playing with Tripp, and Tripp was like, you know, this guy was on The Bachelor, and Pesci looks at me and he goes, I've always wondered, did you fuck all them broads? Now, I wasn't The Bachelor. I was just on that show, and I'm on like a bad spinoff in Paradise, right? But I didn't want to ruin it for him. And so I said, yeah, Joe, I fucked all them broads.
It's contractual, Joe. You have to do it.
He goes, good for you, kid. Good for you.
Good for you. That's what I would have done.
So I have 2 Joe Pesci stories. So the day after I signed my letter and joined the club, I was going to play my first real round as a member. So I'm going to play as a single because I was trying to meet people and I was just like trying to get in the mix. So I go on a Friday. Friday's always like very busy. But as I get my first time as a member, I don't have to be with anybody. So I get to the range and it's completely packed. And the only opening is the far left. You guys know where I'm going with this.
That's the
Pesci spot. Yeah. The far left like spot on the range. And so I go and I set my stuff down and I'm kind of stretching out. And I notice the guy just to my right is Marcus Allen. And I'm thinking in my head, like, I've made it. You know, like I didn't grow up on a country club. Like I joined this place and there's like one of the best athletes of all time, like right next to me hitting balls. And I was like, I can't wait to text my dad and tell him like Marcus Allen's hitting balls. And so I literally take one swing with like a sand wedge just to loosen up, just like boom. And I hear the voice behind me. Hey, you done? And I'm like, I turn around and Joe's right there and he's got his like 5-iron or something. And I'm like, one, I'm in shock. It's Joe Pesci. And then 2, I'm like stumbling through. I was just about to hit a few balls. And he goes, I asked you done? And I was like, yeah, I am actually. It's a great warm up. Like, go right ahead. You know.
I saw you hit that fucking sandwich straight as a fucking arrow. What are you going to learn out of here? That guy's amazing.
The other one was I had a guest one time and they had asked if we were going to see Pesci because he's kind of a legend about being
He's
out
always there.
Yeah.
He's always there. He also drives like this amazing car that looks like a prop from one of the
Goodfellas,
movies.
right?
98 like Buick LeSabre or something, you know, like.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's just perfectly on point. And anyway, so we're playing golf. We get to 17 and he hits it in the same bunker that you hit it in on 10 green, like snap hooks to drive left. He's got like 240 into the hole and it's like magic hour at night. And he hits probably one of the best golf shots I've ever seen live. Like hits a high draw with a 3-wood, like way outside of his skill level. Yeah. Outside of that onto the green to like 10 feet, like to a back left pin, just unbelievable shot. And as we're like walking up the fairway, we're high-fiving and we're like, oh my God, it's amazing. We see this cart come beelining for us and it's Joe. And he literally just pulls like right in front of us and he gets out and he comes over and he goes, I just want to shake the hand of the guy who hit that shot.
Wow.
And this guy's like losing his mind.
Yeah.
Wow,
like the greatest shot of his life. And you get Joe Pesci coming from 2 holes over to come and just want to shake the hand of the guy who hit that shot.
That's
great
so
golf
good.
shot, kid.
That's incredible.
You know, what are you shooting? He's like 890, whatever.
Let me ask you guys this, because I think every person who would take the time to listen to a golf podcast wants to like be better at golf, wants to get good at golf. What do you guys like? What are the tools that you guys sort of use to get good at golf? I will say for me, starting golf, really like starting caring about golf at 30, it was lessons. I went to a guy named Mike Metz and I said, I want to do some lessons and working on that. But even beyond working with Mike, it's like constantly trying to learn about the game and learn about the swing and working on it like all the time. In fact, I worked on it so much these last couple of years, I've sort of like taken my foot off the gas because I was like, I should focus on my acting career. But like for you guys who I think are like, what are you right now? Skratch?
Yeah.
You too? Or like a 2 or 1?
No, I'm like a 3.5 right now.
Sandbag. Talk about sandbag.
Yeah, exactly.
Like what are the steps you like how did you get to Skratch? I think when I first met you, you weren't.
Right. Well, I had the advantage of I was like a better than Skratch player when I was in high school. So I had this like golf muscle that I learned, and that was all just fundamentals and lessons. And also where I grew up, we couldn't, I was a like very middle class family. My dad was in the Air Force. Like I couldn't afford to hit range balls. You'd have to like buy a bag. And I was practicing every single day, like when I was a freshman in high school, because I just wanted to make the golf team, and I was just like obsessed because of Tiger Woods and all that stuff. But chipping and putting was free. So I would just like get an old shag bag and go and like chip, because I could do that every single day and maybe hit balls like 3 times a week. And they were like, whatever, $6 to buy a bucket of balls or something. And so, but it was always free to do the chipping. And then I used to challenge myself because I'd get bored of chipping for an hour. And so I'd like see how close I could get to like a golf cart and flop it to the roof, and like just inventing crazy shots to keep it interesting. And so like my short game in my hands, I got a really good sense of the feel for how to like change the flight and change the spin and how to, play around the greens and everything with a 60-degree wedge too, which I think was really helpful because I at one point someone tried to teach me this system of like however far you were, and there was like a percentage or a ratio of like what club to hit to how much you wanted to roll out. I was like, it's too mechanical.
Yeah.
So it was like, I can hit it low, I can hit it high, I can spin it, I can make it come out dead, whatever. So I think that was a huge part of it. The interesting thing is I've always been obsessed with golf, but after I, didn't go and play in college, I just played a lot less. And I had a whole career in New York in the media business. And then I finally moved to LA. And when I joined Lakeside, I was like, okay, I want to get back to golf again. I can play year round. And I joined, and I think I was like a 7 or an 8 when I joined.
Yeah.
And it took me like 2 years. And then it was like the muscle came back. And for me, it was like I could hit really good shots, but I could also hit really bad shots. And I had like a lot of two-way misses. It was all like penalty strokes that was killing me. I'd have a double, I'd hit it out of bounds, I'd lose a shot, and it was like I actually tinkered. I like got a lesson from a couple different coaches. It didn't really stick. They wanted to rebuild my swing. And I was just fighting, like, why am I not getting better? And then it was just like the repetition of playing often enough. It was like that muscle came back where all of a sudden I like wasn't fearful anymore. And all of a sudden I went from like an 8, like straight to a Skratch. And it was like in a period of like 6 months, because it was just like all the muscle memory from all those hours and hours of practice as a kid and as a high schooler, like came back. And that automatic feeling of like, I can play this game happened. And then my progression from there has really been about like, how do I get that game to travel? So, I can play really well at my home course.
There's the thing about playing in your home course. You get used to like, you start to see every hole as a par, right?
Exactly.
You say, oh, I see what the par is here. And then when you get really good, you see the birdie. You're like,
For sure.
I see which ones are birdies and which ones are, okay, let's try for a par here. But this one we should really try to make it.
Yeah. No, and I think my progression now, I think I'm probably the best I've ever been. Or definitely at the end of last summer, I mean, I was down to like almost a +3 and was like playing to it. And I think it was just because I built enough confidence playing my home course over and over, and I'd gotten the muscle back. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to see if I can take this on the road. And then I got that confidence of like being able to still score on a course that I was uncomfortable at, or with a shot that I was uncomfortable at. And it was all about managing misses. The other thing I did that's all super, like very embarrassing, is I got fit for irons for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Like, and
To wait that long.
Everyone always says that, like, go get fit, it'll help your score. And I'm like, I'm a Skratch golfer. Like, how much could it help? And it's like, turns out when they bend your irons 2 degrees flat, and all of a sudden that left miss is on the left side of the green instead of like in the left side bunker, it just was like, it made a huge difference. And that was the thing that took me to that next level, was just getting those irons bent. So, I don't practice that often. I do a lot of like balance stuff. Like for me, it's if I'm swinging in balance, that's how I get better. And I think it's just about like confidence at this point. Cause I've kind of at this point known I can kind of hit all the shots. I can hit it plenty far enough. It's just going to be like, if I was going to try to play the club championship, something I would almost exclusively work on short game and driver. Like I
find that I'm playing my best when I have really developed, we have a hole at our club 11, right? Which you kind of want to hit a real fairway finder, right? You don't really want a freewheeling wild drive because it's all OB on the right. And I learned how to sort of kind of hit this like choke up, kind of punchy fairway finder, which is basically like a full swing, but just staying within myself. When I have that tool where I'm like, oh, I have one little move I know will put the ball in play to start, score so much better. And that travels.
That travels.
But I lose it. I lose the feel for it.
I always think that's a mark of a real player, is like, can the game go on the road? Because that's where you're playing member guests, you're playing in these events. And it's like, it's one thing to go shoot 75 at the home course. It's another thing to go shoot 75 in a member guest,
A place you've never played.
Right. So what about you, Wells?
Wedge matrix was the thing that I think really changed my game. And it's funny because we just played and you were giving me crap about my wedge shots, which usually are really, really good. But
to be fair, you're using rental clubs.
yeah, they were rentals. And so, yeah, I saw this on YouTube or whatever, and they were like, yeah, what you do is you get all your wedges and you go, okay, at 9 o'clock, normal swing, how far does that go? Okay, now at 11 o'clock, how far does that go? Full swing, how far does that go? Get painter's tape and write it on the club, like on the shaft. And so every time, like the caddy's like, you got 80. I'm like, all right, and that's a 9 o'clock wedge or lob wedge. And it just has made taken the thinking out of it.
That's great. Do you use the clock system?
No, not at all.
I can't. I've tried it, of course, like everything else, but I'm so uncomfortable with trying to, I have to react more to the thing that I'm seeing and just know the club and know it's like half swing, full swing.
Yeah.
And which club I'm using.
I really only do it with the wedges. The other thing that can you move the ball both ways?
Sure.
So
every time? No.
So I used to primarily just hit a draw, right? But I've now gotten my game to a point where I can do both. Like on 11, you're saying with OB on the right, I can hit that squeeze cut,
yeah,
that fairway finder, which is awesome. The thing that I think that's helped me, in terms of mental stability on the course, is every shot I'm trying to move it some way. I'm trying to do something with this shot, and if I don't do it, I'm okay with it. At least I tried. But it's that straight shot where you aren't trying anything is when you always miss it. But if I'm I'm going to hold this cut up into the wind, that's when I'll hit the green.
I feel like that's my weakness. I'm always trying too much.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
I'm like, why did I try to wrap it over that right trap and come in with a big draw? Why didn't I just go right straight out, especially on the par threes?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, why didn't I just take dead aim for the middle of the screen?
Totally.
And if I pushed it or I pulled it, I'd be on. And now I've tried to wrap it in from the right and I've short-sided myself. But maybe it's because I just don't know really what a straight shot is. I don't know. I know a draw and I know a cut, but what's a straight shot? You have a thing that is going to go straight.
Yeah, I think there's an athletic part to that too, because you played another sport. Is that there's a creativity involved to shot shaping. I also think for amateurs, the thing I hear all the time from pros is they're just all about visualization. They just are seeing either the ball flight or more often a window that they're hitting through.
Jason Day closes his eyes and envisions what he's going to do. Yeah,
the window thing is even more common because a lot of times when they're testing equipment, because a lot of times we film with them and they're testing shit out because it's not a tournament round. And so they'll be talking about the window. And so they'll change a ball. They'll go from this year's Pro V1 to 2 years older Pro V1, and they'll be like, oh, that's missing the window. That's how consistent they are, but it's it's coming out a little higher or whatever. And so a lot of times they're just seeing a ball flying through a window and then having it fall. And I think there's something to the athleticism where it's not mechanical when you're thinking about shaping a shot because you're being able to visualize it. Yeah. And it's easier for an amateur who isn't as focused as a pro to envision a 20-yard slice that you're going to start left of the fairway, but peel it back in. You've done that shot a million times, or a big hook, which I love hitting huge hooks, with a 9-iron or 7-iron or something like that. Rory shot on 15 at the Masters. Not that I could ever attempt that, but it's I can understand how you hit that shot. I mean, not at that in the moment, but a big slinging hook. I love that's one of my favorite shots to hit.
Me too. But do you roll your hands through impact to do it? I'll roll my hands. I'll try to think of the toe of the club, and I want the toe of the club to start to pretty much finish up pointed at where I want the ball to end up.
Yep.
So it's kind of roll. It's a little risky because you can really snap it.
You really snap it, but you know how to do it. And I think it's also a feeling of a lot of amateurs, if they get themselves in trouble and they have to hit a recovery shot, oftentimes those recovery shots are going to be better than if they were just sitting in the middle of the fairway, because there's one option. It takes the decisions out of it. It's you don't have to hit it straight at the flag. Because you're sitting there at the flag, you're like, maybe I'll hit a little peeler cut, or I'll try and hit a draw and land it short and run it up, or I'm going to try and hit it behind it and spin it back. And instead it's no, the only option you have is a roping hook. And your body's you've already envisioned it and you execute. And so when I've played my best golf, I've tried to take that same approach, even from the middle of the fairway or on a tee box, and pretend that I'm in the woods and I've got one option, and it's just low and straight, or low with a little draw.
For focusing yourself.
And that's worked. The other tip that really worked is the count backwards drill, count back 3, 2, 1 swing. And you pull the trigger right when you get to swing, when you're saying in your mind swing, go. And that I learned from, Sean Foley, and it really worked for a long time for me because it just commits you and you're not like, there's no delay. You're not second guessing. It's like, you're going, and so it kind of like it's involuntary a little bit.
God, there's just so much to the game. There's so many layers. Like I really, last week, I kind of got back to a move where I was like, oh, I'm getting the club back where I want to have it. And I'm getting in that slot where I know I can just rip at it. And, it did hit some big drives again that were like, as far as it used to hit it. And like kind of had a lousy front, but then really dialed it in the back. And I think like hit almost every green. And then I went and played and just felt like I was making as good contact, but just missing right to a bad spot or just missing left, and didn't keep my brain about me. Right. like eventually by the back nine got frustrated enough that you just kind of lose your form. And like all this little like mind games or and then it's your body too. And then it's the wind and it's the course and staying in it. I don't know how people consistently just go low over and over and over again.
Yeah. No, you get to see it all the time with Brock, but man.
Yeah.
And imagine
it's also
that,
that kind of golf though, when you play with those guys is boring. Like you'll be
I killed for boring.
I know, but like the like middle of the fairway, middle of the green, all of a sudden nice. You're 3 under and it's, whereas like we're like scratching out birdies from like miraculous shots, I would love to be boring as well.
I do love driving a guy crazy when you're making, speaking of Santino, we played Hillcrest like a year ago when I was struggling with that driver. And I think I missed every fairway on the front. And I played the front 1 under because I was just like launching them over trees. And then everything for me, what I play really well is the putter. Mm-hmm. I get a hot putter and you either make a birdie or you save a par. And when the putter's cold, it's,
Yeah.
You got in his head? You got in Santino's head there a little bit?
I think it frustrated him. It was fair. He was totally right. He should have been kicking my ass.
Do you have a favorite course you've ever played?
Pebbles, probably Pebble. Just for the history of it. I mean, I haven't played Augusta. I'd like to. I think I once got invited and I got a call from my manager and he's like, hey, somebody reached out, heard you're filming in Atlanta. Have you ever heard of this course called Augusta? I'm like, yeah. Yeah, sorry, I meant to send this to you earlier, but like, what are you doing today? I'm like, I'm in Los Angeles. Yeah. I came home to see my kid. What are you talking about? And he was like, oh yeah, sorry. It was just like a random incoming thing. But so that was my one chance at that probably. But there's a course in Connecticut called Lake of Isles near like the Foxwoods casinos. It's like, I think it's one of these Troon courses. Beautiful. Just like all through the woods and over these bridges and lakes. And it's a tough track. I think I've only broken 80 there once. But I usually go back and play it once a year with my buddies. I don't know. There's so many courses.
We're running out of time with you. Before we let you go, are you ready for some rapid fire questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go. Let's do this thing.
All right.
I could talk about golf.
Yeah, we can keep going. I just don't want you to.
No, I could. I'm not going to.
Okay.
I could.
Well, we'll have you back on.
Yeah. I'll be a consultant.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Rapid fire questions with Charlie Day. Walk or ride?
Look, everything depends. Okay. I of course love to walk, but if it's like 80, if it's like 90 degrees out and it's hilly, what are we doing? Let's ride. Put some beers in the cart, So it depends. If it's, if I'm in Scotland, I want to walk. I don't want to be the one jerk in a cart. But I also like to toss some beers in there with the boys and roll the cart. I mean, it's a good time.
Biggest golf pet peeve?
Oh, bad golf etiquette. You know what I mean? Like either like playing behind a group and watching a guy like drop down 3 putts and try and like someone just having sort of no awareness of the group in front of them or behind them. That will drive me crazy and will cost me some shots probably as I'll start playing frustrated.
Same.
I was playing with you once and this group came up behind us and we were playing a 6-some and we were like, we got to let them through. And I think it was on 6 and every guy that was playing through missed the green and not even close, and then like didn't like pick up and like just get going.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, dude, you can't do that to us. We should have just continued, slowing you guys down.
That will drive me absolutely insane.
You already kind of
because that and the fact that I can't just master the game.
Yeah.
It's a big pet peeve for me. It's a big pet peeve for me that I can't like always be a Skratch golfer. Like why like the sun shines on me sometimes and then it's like, don't forget.
Yeah.
You're also a dum-dum.
You get to the course early or are like straight out of the car to the first tee, or do you get the course early?
Oh, if I can, I'd love to get early, hit some balls, loosen up.
Dream foursome.
It's just my hometown buddies. It's just these guys that I grew up with. If I get a chance to go play with them anywhere in the world, I'm trying to do it.
Lay up or go for it?
I mean, can I reach? Almost always go for it. Like if I can, unless it's like absolutely so stupid to lay up, I always go for it. Like if I'm within striking distance. Yeah.
Best swing thought.
For me, my best swing thought is put it in play, right? Is just being like, not being up there being like, oh, I'm going to pound it. Not being up there being like, I'm going to hit the most incredible thing, but being like, what shot can I just advance and put in play? And it simplifies it. This is a funny story. One time I was doing a movie in Mississippi with John Krasinski. And I wanted to play golf, and like I was asking around, I was like, nobody had clubs. I went to Walmart and I bought for $100 a set of the worst golf clubs you can imagine. I mean, like the flex on the driver, just like ridiculous. I think they were like kids' clubs. And I went to the local course and I was like, all right, I'm not gonna be able to play well, but I can just use these clubs to like advance the ball. And I played so well, just being like, oh, if I'm just thinking about like, what gets it from here to where I want it to go and nothing else really, then you kind of like strip things away. So when I'm playing well, I really kind of simplify it down to being like, I see that target. I just want to put the ball near it. And I do that,
Have you ever had a hole in one?
Fucking no, man. And I have come so close so many times. And I would say closer more often when I was a worse golfer. Like where I think I had like 5 like kick-ins back when I like was, like shooting 100 or mid 90s. And now I'm like hardly ever, or like I went right over. It's just, I can't get it in. How many do you have?
2.
You piece of shit. What about you?
1.
Yeah. Okay.
I was with Chad when I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You were coming through the club.
And Alfonso was there. And I was like, are you going to do the dance? He didn't, I thought that would be like the perfect time to do it,
Alfonso was in a group with me during my hole in one.
Really?
It's just wild.
Really?
He must be that. You should play more with him.
I gotta call him.
Yeah.
I gotta call him.
I think we know this, but your best score ever.
It's actually 66.
Wow.
But par 70. So
Still.
Is this still at Lakeside?
400. That was at the La Cañada Country Club.
Nice. Last one. Give me
with
one.
Mr. McElhenney, so I got witnesses and everything.
You're better than him. Yes?
Yeah, Rob started the game real late and never played any kind of stick and ball sport. But, he's gotten much, much better. And he can bomb it now. He can like hit it 1,000,000 miles. But also 50% of the time I play with him, he's like, I'm thinking of quitting.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm never playing again. I'm like, just play and have fun, man. Like be like a low 80s guy on a good day and a 90 something on a bad day and then go own your soccer teams and do your 9 billion things you're doing and come out here and have some fun. What are you talking about? You're going to quit.
Last one. One word to describe your game.
Chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah, just an absolute madness.
Charlie Day, thank you so much for coming on the Vanity Index podcast, man.
Oh, man, my pleasure.
You're
Thanks
the
for
best.
having me, guys. Go play some golf.
Let's go.
Let's go.